My friends, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Diner Talks with James. I'm James. I am super pumped to be out here with you all. We got Tasheka Grant coming out in just a hot minute, y'all. But before we get her out here, y'all, listen, I was wondering if you could help me out. I'm trying to figure out who the heck listens to this thing. Podcasts are weird. And so I'm trying to connect with my community because I would just love to know what you think's working, what you think is not working. I am out here with the growth mindset. I want this to be the show that you want it to be. And so if you could shoot me an email, I'm James at jametrobo.com. If you want to follow at Diner Talks with James on Instagram, whatever it is, my friends, feel free to message me and let me know. What do you like? What do you not like? Do you miss the top three? Do you like the segment? Do you not? What do you, I'm just, let's figure it out, my friends. Podcasting is fascinating because I don't know who listens to this. I don't know. I kind of know how many of you listen to it, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything because numbers are weird. And I would just love to build this community out. Like I said, we got to come up with a name for ourselves. I still haven't figured it out. Are we the milkshakers? Are we the pancakers? Are we the waffle house guests? I have no idea, y'all, but we're going to figure it out. And I'm super excited to continue to build community with you. So please shoot me a message either on Diner Talks with James on Instagram, or like I said, shoot me an email, James at jametrobo.com, and let's connect, my friends. I appreciate you. All right, y'all, let's get into this episode. We're about to talk about some parenting. We're talking about stay-at-home mom life. We're going to talk about interracial marriages. We're going to have a really dope conversation with the one and only Tasheka Grant. Tasheka Grant is a content creator. Feel free to check her out on Instagram, Life with Tasheka. Her website, lifewithtasheka.com. She posts a ton of really powerful real talk about parenting, about motherhood, about marriage, about all sorts of things surrounding the parenting world. She is a powerful voice. She is hysterical. She's a fellow New Yorker. So really that's all I needed to hear. But no matter what, I'm super excited for you to feel this energy. Let's bring her out right now. What's going on, Tasheka?
Hi, everybody. What's up? Hi. How is everyone doing? Thank you so much, James, for having me on here. I'm super excited. This is my very first podcast guest. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this. Yes. And whatnot. Since I met you on Clubhouse, because that's where we met, I was like, nah, his energy is fire. And I have to link with him somehow. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. And then once, and then this whole us getting together on this podcast and speaking together just made it so much easier. So I am so excited.
I'm excited to have you here. I agree. Your energy on Clubhouse, along with the truth bombs that you dropped, was powerful, and I knew I hit you up. I literally hit you up right away. So I'm really excited that you are here on Diner Talks with me, James.
Let's do it.
My friend, as I mentioned in the intro, you are a fellow New Yorker. Where did you grow up?
I am a fellow New Yorker. Oh my gosh, it's such an interesting story. So I am from originally the Bronx. I am from Pelham.
BX.
Yes, okay. BX. Yes, born and bred. I'm from Pelham. Pelham Projects. That's where I grew up. Mm-hmm. My mother moved upstate New York when I was 7. And then we moved to Iowa when I was 9, almost 9. I was like, 8 or 9. And then my mom went back to New York, but she did not want to go back to the city. So we moved back to where we did upstate, where I lived and stayed until I was 27. And then we moved to Texas, and I've been here since then. And it'll be almost 4 years that I've been in Texas. So I moved around a lot. Like the wind blew when I left. The wind blew and I was like, okay, so I'm just going to go over here. It's fine.
Yes. I love that. That is delightfully random, that random Iowa move.
It's funny because my mom definitely was just like, oh, we're going to go visit my older sister's dad's side of the family lived there. And we've all I grew up very close with her dad's side of the family. That's also a very long story. And we're really close. And my mom was like, oh, we're going to go visit them because my grandmother, her mother, just passed away. And she was like, I cannot be in New York anymore. I just need to get a breather. And so I was like, oh, we're just going to go visit. And then I was like, it's been 6 months. how long is a visit? And then, it turned into us living there for, I think, like 3 years. And
Wow.
it wasn't bad, but like, I do miss New York City all the time still now. It's something about it. Like, even, I don't know if anyone has ever moved from New York City, and like come back to visit, but something in your brain clicks back, no matter when you left. It's like a different mentality being a city person. And like, it just clicks for you. Like, it's like naturally like in you. So I love that. I miss it. I used to, up until I met my husband, I went to New York City to visit friends like every other weekend. I was always like, I'm out, I'm going, like, I have nothing else to do. My oldest son was with his dad on the weekends. So I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to go to the city. I'm just going to go to Long Island, or I'm just going to go to the Bronx. I'm just going to go do this, or go to Harlem. And like, I just, bye. See ya. So, and I loved it. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm a New Yorker, born and bred.
I love that. I'm also a proud New Yorker. I grew up on Long Island, lived recently in Brooklyn, and moved out to Minnesota. So I am like you, where I go back to get my city fix. And as soon as I pull into the city, I adjust myself in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
I get in a new stance. I walk faster. I smile less, and I also get a lot of work done, because it's time to move in New York. So
time is money. Time is money. You are 100%. So you said Long Island. Where in Long Island are you from?
Suffolk County, a little town called Sayville.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, I know where it is. My friends lived in Deer Park.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
So yes. So I went to Deer Park a lot. My favorite thing in Long Island to do is to go to Fire Island, hop on that ferry, hit Ocean Beach, and get drunk all day and eat calamari and just live my whole life.
And then life.
Yeah, so I do miss those days. I talk about it often. I'm like, man, this panorama killed that, because I was really gonna go back. Well, panorama and having another baby.
Yeah, that's true. Now, those are both time sucks right there.
It is
a quick pandemic and a quick
just a quick baby, just a quick child. Just cut that one out real quick.
Now, I'm curious, you are a proud New Yorker. Do you fancy yourself a New York diner? And if so, what is your typical New York diner order?
Yes. I miss diner food. Texas, get it together, okay? If you're listening, Texas, somebody get this together. Somebody, please. No, my typical order, if I go to a diner, is always bacon, over easy eggs, toast, and like in an orange juice, like just the staples, like classic. That's it. And if you can't make a good over easy egg, like your diner is trash.
Yep.
That is the staple. Like, that's how you know if someone is really good, is if your eggs are good. You are good. I don't care what else you have on your menu, but if your eggs is fire, and good home fries. Home fries is like the other number one thing for me. If your home fries are not good, I'm definitely walking out.
Get out of here. Yeah, with your bland, non-seasoned home fries. Y'all can take a walk.
You can take a long walk.
Off a short pier.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Now you're in Texas. Where in Texas are you?
I am in Waco currently right now.
Waco. Oh,
yes, I'm in the Waco.
I was there last fall. I wish pre-pandemic fall. If I know, we would have hung out. But here we are. Last a year and a half too late.
Did you guys visit the silos?
Had to. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Chip and Joe. You gotta show it off. So. And I love it. And so here's the beautiful thing, right? Is that you are a stay-at-home mother of 4, Tasheka, and we can hear it right now. And there's going to be a lot of humanity in this. And that's what I'm super excited about. A lot of podcasters will be like, what's that background noise over there?
It's the baby.
Yeah. You got life. You have life happening. You have 4 little ones, right?
I have 4 kiddos. Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's the age range?
My oldest is 11. My daughter, my second oldest, she will be 5 in July. My baby boy just turned 3. Actually, Mother's Day. His birthday was on Mother's Day. And my baby girl, she will be 7 months here in a few days. So I'm spread. I'm
Spread out.
spread. I
Spread.
am.
Yeah, for sure.
It
And
is.
if at any point, by the way, if you need to pause and go talk to them, that is okay. Everything is
Oh, thank you.
editable, just so you know.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. But you know what I did? I was really smart when you gave me all the, like, when you were like, oh, this is like, look at the days that are good for you and the times. I made sure to do it on the day that my husband had off. So, like, just like when my son came in here, I texted him and was like, come get your child. Oh,
Come get your boy.
Come get your child, please. He needs to get out. And he's like, all right, got you. My husband is super supportive, which I'm very thankful for. Him as supportive he is, can't talk today, how supportive he is of me, of doing the things that I do, because it is very time consuming. I spend a lot of time on my phone. I spend a lot of time on my computer, and kind of not always super present.
Yeah.
And he takes that with a grain of salt, and he knows that, like, you know, this is what I have to do. This is how I bring money into the home. You know, even though like like him working completely is suffice for us. Like we live off of his sole income, but me bringing things in leessens the stress up with him a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely, every little bit helps.
Yeah, like, babe, I could pay the mortgage this month. Like I could pay the light bill. I can get groceries. I can get Chick-fil-A and support my habit because I'm addicted to Chick-fil-A. So, and my poor children have become addicted because I'm addicted. They're always
Chick-fil-A. Oppression never tastes so good.
I know. I'm just like, for me and my really good friend, she is like, not like, we're both the same. Like, we don't play like the oppression, all those things, right? And people are like, but you still eat Chick-fil-A. First of all, I'm pretty sure you still use products that you shouldn't be using. We're not gonna talk about that. So leave me and my Chick-fil-A alone. We out here just surviving. It's quick dinner, quick. Okay, when you got 4 kids and they all can agree on Chick-fil-A, we're going to Chick-fil-A.
It's a victory. That's the victory. You got to take it.
It really is. Yes.
Yeah, Tasheka, tell me, was you know, we're going to come back to a little bit of your content creation. I'm excited to talk to you about like what that choice was, but I want to stick to this the idea that we're on, that, you know, you got 4 kids at home, you are a stay-at-home mom. Was this, if I talked to Tasheka, you know, 10, 15 years ago and told that Tasheka what modern day Tasheka is up to, what would she say right now?
I know you fucking lying. That is the realest answer. That's literally the first thing that popped in my head, is that the younger Tasheka would be like, I know you fucking lying. You who got kids? No, not me. Sorry, no, ma'am, no, sir. They would be surprised. And then that was like 15-year-old Tasheka, like, you know, 15 years ago. And then like 10 years ago, she would be like, I have how many more children? Because I had my son when I was 19 going on 20, my oldest. And so I would be like, no, because it's funny. When I met my husband in our first date, because we met online, which I'm totally not ashamed to talk about. People were like, you can share that. I'm like, yeah. I was like, you just mad because Plenty of Fish didn't work for you, but it worked over here. But yeah, so like I met my husband online on our first date. We were talking. He's like, yeah, I've always wanted a lot of kids, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, wow, those blue eyes. You're so cute. So sad this is our last date. Like, I'm just like, because I'm like, this is the wrong person. And here I am 6 years later, 3 extra children, married. And I would never have seen where I am now, but I am immensely grateful for it. I am I tell my husband all the time, like, and I know a lot of people like don't want, like, they feel like you shouldn't equate your success or your happiness to people and like pin them with people. But my husband saved me in ways that I didn't even think I needed to be saved. And, you know, not like I was out here doing like the most. I was literally finding myself and living my life. And I have found myself. I balanced motherhood and working and still having a single life very well. But when I met my husband, it literally was like my soul came home.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I literally, like, I cannot departure from this person. We had, like, it's like glue. Like, we have to be stuck together all the time. Like, here we are with our children and married and have a house and like doing the whole, like, you know, the dream, like living the dream that so many people want in the nice suburban subdivision. And you know what I mean? That's quiet. And it's just,
Applebee's
you
point
know what I
five
mean?
miles away.
You know, like out here looking at the lawn, thinking about like, wow, did we put the weed and feed down today? Like it's going to rain today. We should probably put the weed and feed down. Like, you know, these are things that I never thought that I would think of. And, you know, but it is such a beautiful thing. It really is, even though it's stressful. And sometimes I'm like, I want to run away. I want to get in my car, drive off and like disappear forever because I'm overwhelmed. Motherhood is overwhelming. Being a wife is hard. I never grew up with the notion of one, how to be a good productive mother, because my mom is pretty toxic. She's totally gonna probably hear this and be like, wow, she called me out. My mom is toxic. And we have a very weird, strained relationship. And so like I knew what I didn't want to be like as a mother. And this is why I also never wanted children, because I was afraid to become her, since like this is what, you know, you are what you're raised to be like, you know. And I never was like around married couples, so I didn't know what it would be like to be married. Like, so this is like all new territory for me, you know. And I'm like the first successful marriage in like a long line of my family. And but I'm thriving through it, and we're working out and we're finding what works for us. And sometimes it's hard. And sometimes I'm like literally in balls crying. I've had a panic attack. I'm, you know, saying like, I don't want to be a mom anymore. I don't want to be a wife anymore. I don't want to do this. It's not the life I told myself I would have. But then once I like calm down and the overwhelming things like die down, I realized that no, this is the place I'm meant to be at right now. But I am more than this at the same time.
Sure.
But I thrive in this, being a mom. This is why I'm able to wake up every single day and do it at 6:30 in the morning, you know, and go all day until like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, you know? And so like, and I know like, you know, people are just like, oh no, motherhood is such a blessing, and it is, but it's also sometimes a curse. It's a balance of both. And like, I feel like people need to be more open and understanding and admit that. And being a stay-at-home mom is hard as hell. I will tell you that. It's so hard. It really is.
No, I can quite literally only imagine. I mean, you know, we had, you know, we took some paternity, maternity leave and stuff like that when our boy was born. He was born on New Year's Eve of 2020. Put an exclamation point on the end of 2020.
Yes.
And we took some time, and then we didn't start daycare for 3 or 4 months. And even now we're still doing just like 3 days a week. But like even that time I was like, well, I don't know how stay-at-home parents do it, right? We like my wife and I immediately built so much respect for first single parents, then stay-at-home parents, then all parents, right? Like it's just like it's so much for sure.
Yeah, no, it is. And it wasn't something that I like thought that I would be. I never thought I would be a stay-at-home mom. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, I'll always work. I've always had jobs. I've been literally working and finding how to make money since I was like 9, 10 years old, from like watching my mom's friends' kids. Like they would like, I remember being 10 years old and having like 12 kids with me at sometimes, like, and then I'd be like, it's like 12 of us, and I'm like the ringleader, and I'm like, this is what we're gonna do. Everyone sit down at dinner. This is like, you know, I've always been able to do that, and always been the responsible one. And then like dog walking and helping with paper routes. And then when I turned 16, I got a real job, and it's always been going. I've always had a job, right? And it wasn't until like 2019, and this is actually what started where I realized that I had I knew that I had anxiety, but I didn't realize how bad my anxiety was, and then also how much I ignored my postpartum depression with my previous 2 kids. Because if you don't take care of this, and this is for everyone listening, if you do not take care of postpartum depression, it does not go away. It may seem like it's gone. You have another baby, it happens again, and it triggers. And postpartum depression could come and sneak up at you at any time when you're not working on it, right? So I remember I was working, I was a bartender and a server for like 11 years. That's like what I did, because I'm very charismatic. I'm good with people. And I made damn good money being, yeah, I did. Like I did not play. Like everyone always like, yes, to this day, if I go, because I worked at Longhorn here in Waco, and if I go to Longhorn, like the first thing that my old boss says, like, I'm going to go pick up food, and this man's like, oh, are you coming to come back to work? No. He's like, well, I still got you on the roster whenever I just keep re-adding sabbatical, like whenever you're ready. And I'm like, I just had another baby. I'm really not coming back. Like, so, you know, so.
But I will take some extra rolls.
But I will take some extra rolls if you got some, like, you know what I mean? So, but I remember I was like really overwhelmed with being a new mom of 3. And everyone laughs when I say this, but I was never a full-time mother. I never was. That wasn't a thing for me, you know. My oldest, his dad is very active in his life still. He's from a previous relationship. But his dad is like used to take him every weekend, a couple days during the week. Like, I worked all the time. My younger sister helped me watch him when his dad had to work and couldn't take him. So like I was never alone being a mom, right? Yeah. So then I had my daughter, and it was like, whoa. Okay, I'm still not fully a full-time mom because he still goes with his dad. And then my mother-in-law, who lived an hour away from us, would come down every weekend and be like, okay, I'm taking her. And I was like, bye. Like, see you. Like, even though she was taking her because I had to go to work. And then after, you know, I'd never worked Sundays, and my husband rarely worked Sundays then. We would go up there after, like, you know, we worked, and then stay Saturday night until Sunday, and then come back home because that's when my son came home. And this is in New York. And so I never had to do that. But then moving to Texas, it was like a shocker for me. I had to be a full-time mom. I had to do all the things all the time, 24/7. Yeah. Even when I had to go to work, I had a new baby. I was in a strange area that I knew no one but my husband's side of the family who had moved here. I mean, me and his mother are very close. She's like my best friend. Yeah. I'm very lucky and thankful for that. But I didn't have like my own tribe that I'm used to. Like, you know, my best friend wasn't here. My younger sister, who I'm really close to, was not here. My dad's mother was not here. It was really hard for me. And I like did not realize like I was going back into depression. And in 2019, I like snapped one day. And like my husband to this day still gets scared if I'm gone too long and he hasn't heard from me, because he's like, no, she left. She left, y'all. Gone. Your mama gone. No, but it's not. I didn't, like, you know, and because I really was like in a really bad headspace, and I started going to therapy, and I talked to my therapist, and she's like, do you think that going to work stresses you out a lot? And I was like, no, I love working, because I do. But I started realizing that that's where my anxiety was starting to like come up, right? Yeah. Because I had to hurry up and get ready, you know, get the kids ready for when the nanny got there, and make sure that they had food, and make sure the house wasn't a trashy mess when she got here, so she didn't feel like she had to clean. Or if my husband was like, oh, you know, we don't need a nanny today, I will be home earlier this time, in time for you to go to work. And then he was just like a few minutes late because he is a general manager at a restaurant. So like, you know, I know how that works. It's like when you can leave, and it's just like stress after stress. And like I broke down, I had to break down, and I was like, I need to not work. And like, so I went to my husband and I'm like, honey, what do you think if I just quit and I just started staying home with the kids? And he's like, I told you already. He's always supportive about me doing whatever makes me happy. And he's just like, if you need to quit because you're not okay, please do that. He goes, I don't care if whatever you decide to do does not make you any money. I don't care if you decide you want to bird watch, but as long as you are finding joy in that. And so I started staying home, and I thought that would be the fix all, right? Yeah. And it wasn't. That just brought on other challenges. And like, truthfully, I'm tired of my kids. I'm tired of them. I'm like, why you always got to be in my space? I'm just trying to poop by myself. I just try to pee by myself. What do y'all want? Like, leave me be. Like, you know, and they're always just like, Mom, what are you doing, Mom? And I'm just like, my name's not even Mom. I don't even know who I am at this point. Like, but that's not me. So I know who you're calling. You better go find her. Like, you know, and I'm still trying to navigate myself here. Here we are 2 years later into being a stay-at-home mom. And I have immense respect, just like how you said that, you know, that you and your wife got that. So did I. I was like, wow, like y'all do this all day, every day. Wow. Like, where's my PTO? Yeah, where's my vacation time? Where's my sick leave? Where's my rest? It does not exist. Like, if it's like, you know, I've been nursing, I feel like for like the last like 3 years, and I'm just like, I'm tired of nursing. I'm tired of cooking meals. I'm tired of, wiping up boo-boos and doing all these things, making sure this house is clean. And it's a lot. It is a lot being a stay-at-home mom. But also, I know this is something that I really thrive on. And people are very shocked when I tell them that I have a hard time being a stay-at-home mom, because they're just like, including my friends, they're like, but you make it look so easy. And I'm like, no.
Not a damn thing's easy.
Not a damn thing's easy, James. No, not at all.
Yeah.
Wow, I just thought about that. I'm like, I'm tired.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was raised by a stay-at-home mother as well, while my dad would commute into the New York City and work at his insurance or reinsurance job. And I, I think this always happens once you if you ever become a teacher, you reach out to your old teachers and be like, I'm so sorry. Right. And if you become a parent, sometimes you reach out to the people that raised you and be like, I'm sorry. Right. Because you're just like, wow, you did so much more than I even thought about. And that's the way it was in my case. I know you alluded to the fact that I think we were raised differently, but still there's still a dumb amount of work, even if you're not doing it well. Right. Like
I do, you know what? And that's crazy, because I don't think that my mom realizes this either. I do have immense respect of what she did, because although a lot of things that she did was very toxic, that has damaged me in ways, she never left. And a lot of moms don't do that, or dads, or anything, you know what I mean? Luckily, people I think it's funny, because when I share this, people laugh. My mother and my father are best friends. I am the product of best friends.
Okay.
They just hooked up one time, and here I am, right? And they are still best friends. 31 years later, they're still best friends.
That's crazy.
Sometimes their friendship comes before me being their child.
Sure.
I'm like, at this, I used to get really upset about it, but now I'm just like, whatever, it is what it is, right? You know what I mean? But I will say that my mother was always there. Now, and I mean, emotionally and mentally, was she? No. Physically, yes, she was. You know what I mean? And no matter how hard it got or how overwhelmed she was, she still stayed. And I immensely respect that. I have as I said, our relationship is very strained, but I have called her, because I'm going through a preteen stage right now with my oldest, and it is rough over here. It is rough. Somebody save me. Okay. If you hear this is a SOS help. No. But my oldest, he's going through his preteen stage, and it's just a lot of things that he's going through. And I'm like, damn, was I like this?
Yeah.
And I had to call and ask my mom, and I'm like, was I like this when I was 10, 11 years old? And she's like, no, you were such a good kid. She's like, now your older sister? Yes. Your younger siblings? Yes. You were just always how can I be of service? I literally was I was like a robot. Yeah, turn me on. What can I do? I'm here to please you. That's always, I am a people pleaser. And I'm just it is exhausting. And I have a newfound respect for that with her, with my other siblings, even though I helped to raise my 3 young ones. So I do remember how treacherous they were at 10 and 11, especially my twin brothers. But I really understand and respect that, because no matter if you have help or you don't, being a mother and dealing with the preteen angst and the teenage angst that these kids go through is hard. And some days I'm just like, why are you like this? Why do you have to be like this? And it's just at the same time, they're trying to become, their own versions of themselves. So it naturally, they're going to challenge whoever is in the authoritative seat of their life, Yeah. So, but I do feel that you do go back and you have this immense respect, and you look at it a whole different way. Although I still don't agree with a lot of things that my mother did. And I think that also helps me be a better mother. Because I think about it, and the times when I really, because I am the advocate for saying if you need to lose your shit, lose it. Do not suck it down and harbor it and not allow your children to see that, because your kids need to see that, because they need to see how you come out of that, because that teaches them healthy habits instead of just swallowing everything when they're not okay and just keep pushing on and just emotionally exhausting themselves. They need to see you literally lose it because I do that sometimes. I like literally lose it, and then I like have to breathe, and then I have to bring them in. And I'm like, listen, you know, my daughter is starting to get old enough now that she understands. She'll be 5, so she, you know, I can talk to her real but still in kids way that she can understand. And my son, I can start talking to him more in the adult tone but still childlike, you know. And I'm like, mommy's going through a lot. I am overwhelmed. I am very overwhelmed because I'm constantly going, and when I have to repeat myself, when I have 50 million things up here in my head, it is overwhelming for me. And then I short circuit and then lose my mind and I flip out, you know, and that's not always the right way. And I do apologize, and I'm working on that. And I think that is also important for your children to see that the humility that you have. And my mother never was like that. It was always her way or the highway. And she is like, to this day, that never happened. I never did that. And I don't want my children to ever come to me and be like, you know, Mom, you did this when I was a kid and it really affected me now as an adult. And I'm just like, I'm really sorry. Like, what can I do to help you move past this so we can work on it together? You know what I mean? And I think that is also so, and I think by me doing that is by talking to them now, so that as they get older, they're not feeling unheard. You know what I mean? So communication is the biggest thing in this house. It's always like, just talk to me. Just tell me how you feel. It's not going to always be what you want to hear or what I want to hear. But you know, because I've never been a mom of an 11-year-old. This is my first time. Yeah. I've never been a mother of a girl before. You know, my daughter's 5 and like, you know, she's starting to get her own little attitude. And I'm just like, I was like such a, yes, I'll do whatever you want. And I'll be so nice of a child that it blows my mind to see other kids not be like that. And I have to remember that every child is different.
Sure. Yeah.
I hear crying and I was like, I don't know if you can hear it, but I was like,
someone is actively feeling their feelings, like you role modeled.
They really do. Like they don't care in this house. Like everyone shows the feelings. And I love that because I grew up not showing feelings. Yeah. So it is important for me to be like, if you need to cry, just cry. Like whatever. It's annoying, but go ahead.
And that's such a powerful lesson for so many, particularly your young boys, right? Like feel what you feel and don't be afraid of sharing what you're feeling. I mean, yeah, we all need to share for sure. We all need someone to talk to, and we all need someone, you know, we all need to be able to feel what we feel and name it. That's a real powerful. So
that is 100% true. Yes, you are right.
So it's funny because, you know, you were talking earlier about this idea of, you know, mommy's overwhelmed and I'm going through it. Now, something that you and I both share in common is that we are Enneagram 2s, which means that we are helpers, sometimes accommodators. We feel what other people feel. And most importantly, what I want to talk to you about is we are terrible at setting boundaries. And so boundaries in parenting is fascinating because we are, you know, if you follow the cliche mommy blogs and things like that, they are out here telling you need to be all things at all times and make it look easy, right? Women have been told do everything and make it look easy since the dawn of time. And that we both know that's some bullshit. And yeah, for sure. Right. Like be a duck, keep the hot mess down below and keep it smooth up top where people can see you. And so when we think about this idea of setting boundaries, this is something I'm terrible at. And so that's why I'm going to ask you the question. So I don't have to answer it, but how does boundary setting work for you in, I would say in your motherhood or in your life, right? Because there's also times where you have to set those boundaries up with your husband. Like right now, you're like, you know, I'm going to do a recording. I'm going to need you to take care of these kids, right? This was a boundary that you set where you said, this is what I need. But Enneagram 2s are typically terrible at setting boundaries and saying what we need because we're fearful that would push somebody else away or inconvenience somebody else and whatnot. And just a real quick aside, for those of you that have never taken the Enneagram or heard of it, it's ENNEAGRAM, and it's an assessment that kind of puts you. It tells you a lot about yourself, and it's pretty powerful. It's very well done. It talks about how you show up in the world, and so I would recommend it. I think you can find it for free online.
It is. You can.
So for
You
sure.
can.
So Tasheka, tell me about boundaries in your life, and when did you get good at setting them? Are you working on getting better at setting them? Are you still trash at setting them? How you doing?
Came for me, sir. Are you still trash? Wow. I'm trash. 10 out of 10 won't recommend. No, I'm kidding. So, well, that's so funny. What helps me is that my husband, because I'm really big on like Enneagrams. I'm also really big on, I'm big on Enneagrams. I'm also big on signs, like astrology signs.
Okay.
And I'm a Gemini.
Okay.
And my husband is an Aries.
Mm-hmm.
Also, my oldest son is an Aries. It's hard in this house. I'm not going to lie to you. my oldest son and my husband, sometimes I'm just like, somebody please come get me. But the truth is that I never really had clear boundaries, especially with my family.
Mm-hmm.
My mother in particular, and my siblings, because like I said, I helped her raise them.
Mm-hmm.
So I do whatever for them. Like, you know what I mean? Oh, you need this. Oh, can I borrow money? Can you take me here? Can I do this? Like when I lived in New York, it was like I always came last and like no one cared. They still kind of don't care. But it wasn't until I met my husband that I had to start learning clear boundaries. My husband does this thing called palming situations. Like, like when you when someone is coming at you and you like go like this to their forehead, like you like put your hand up to their forehead and they're like trying to run, but they can't get past because you're like
arming kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So my husband does that mentally to people and to situations that does not deserve his energy. And he would just shut it down. Like, no, we're not doing that. This is the hammer and I'm laying it and it used to drive me nuts because I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah,
so,
right.
And when he would do that with me, when he's like, this does not need energy. We are stopping right now. We're not doing this. And like, I'm just like, no. And he's just like, you need to start caring more about yourself and don't care what anyone thinks, including me. And like, he even says, he shouldn't even care what I think. Like, and I'm your man. Like, you need to just start caring about and worrying about Tasheka and worrying about what Tasheka needs and what's filling Tasheka's cup. And it was something that, like, until I met him, and this is why I said that he saved me, because I never knew this about myself, and I was always afraid to set boundaries because one, I have abandonment issues. Mm-hmm. I have emotional abandonment issues, not physical. And I think that having emotional abandonment issues is way worse than having physical ones. Yeah. So because my parents were not emotionally available. They were there. I've seen them. Like, they ain't go nowhere, but emotionally and mentally, they were not there. Like, you know what I mean? They had their own things that they were trying to work out and go through, and they'd had no time to be my parents. So I raised myself. And because of that, I didn't know how to, as a child, to healthily set boundaries. You have to be taught that, right? Like, you have to you have to have examples shown. And, so like my son and my husband, actually, now I'm thinking about it, really showed me that. So, by just like, I want to say when I was 24, I went through something really big. I'm trying to decide if I want to say it or not. Sorry.
You have no obligation. Your story is yours to tell.
It's okay. I've gotten way better at talking about it. Because it's still something that I kind of push to the back, but so when I was 24, I got pregnant again with my oldest son's dad, and we were not together. And he was like, we can't have another baby, because he was like, no, it's not going to work. It was a lot of circumstances of why. And we went back and forth, and I ended up having an abortion when I was 24. And that was a huge wake up call in my head where everything shifted, where I started realizing, because I didn't want to have an abortion. I did it because it was more of a pressure from him and what he felt was right. And as a true Enneagram 2, you want to do whatever makes everyone else's life easy, regardless of how you feel. And I'm a true Enneagram 2, unfortunately. And I love being one, but then sometimes it sucks. I know you can understand that. I've taken the test like 50 times and I still keep getting the same answer. Like, and I try to answer into questions like all weird and stuff. And they were like, listen, no, this is who you are. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll take it. But when I had that, and then a year later is when I met my husband, actually almost to the date of when I had the abortion, I met my husband. And I was like, wow. Like, you know what I mean? Like all those things I started creating more boundaries in my life, boundaries with my mother. You know, like, no, I cannot do this for you because it's going to take from me. I've always wanted to leave New York, but I stayed because, you know, my son and his dad, I didn't want to leave them. I didn't want to separate them. I didn't want to move away from my siblings because they heavily relied on me and my mother heavily relied on me. And I didn't want to leave because I didn't want to inconvenience them, you know, and I wish like then I knew about Enneagrams because then it would have made me understand a lot more.
Sure.
And, you know, like I said, meeting my husband, I was just like, I'm ready to like live my life. Like I gotta live life, you know, and it just turned into me like, all right, we're moving to Texas. And my husband's like, what? No, I'm Italian and hairy, bro. It's hot down there. We're not going.
Respect.
And I was like, okay, so we're going, and here we are. And it's like the best move we ever made in our lives. And it taught me how to also create those boundaries moving away, and not having to physically see someone when you say no is so much easier than when they're right there. And it just teaches me, and just like everyday life, I still battle with it all the time because, like, you know, like I said, I said this to you before we got on here, that I have a clubhouse room that I used to do every single night. And it was starting to take a really big toll on me because truly I am an empath. I feel everyone's feelings all the time. I think this is why also I have a hard time in motherhood and I get very overwhelmed up here, is because I'm feeling everything my kids are feeling 24/7, and my husband, and like then like people that I'm talking to and trying to help in like the virtual world. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. Like, you know, and I have to, and I realize like, if you're going to survive this, Tasheka, and if you're going to be any use to anyone in this world, you have to set boundaries. And I'm still battling it internally and saying to myself, like, people are not hating you because you're telling yourself no. You know what I mean? Like, prime example, I had a room on Monday and I was like, guys, I'm exhausted. And I always spearhead the rooms. I'm always the lead in the rooms, right? Because it's my baby. It's something I created, and I brought these people on with me, and we all create this together. And, you know, and I try to not say like that the mom spot and mom time on Clubhouse is not mine. It is all of ours as mothers. But I made it, right? And it was my vision that made this. And so I always feel like if I'm not there, I'm letting someone down. If I'm not really active, I'm letting them down. And I was even like batting myself in the head when I was like, I'm going to be kind of quiet. Can someone else spearhead for me tonight? Because I'm exhausted. And I still was like, oh my God, people probably think that I don't care about them and I don't care about what they're going through. And like, I'm always supposed to be there. Yeah. And I'm doing that. Like, this was just Monday. So I feel like it's always a battle of you trying to set boundaries. It's going to be something that you're going to have to work on all the time. But you have to remember that you are of utmost importance. And I'm starting to realize that now, you know, especially as a mom, that like, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you got to put your kids first. Your kids come first. You don't come, like, your kids come first and your husband comes first. And then you worry about you, what makes everyone straight. But the truth is, how can we put all these people first and not ourselves? Because then what the hell are we giving them? Mm-hmm. And I'm realizing that now as well. And that is another boundary, is that like, my time is important. What I want to do in this world and what my voice that I want to create in this world is of importance. In order to do that, I have to carve out time where you guys are not bothering me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, my oldest son is so used to me always being like hand and foot. Like, you want to talk to me, buddy? I'll drop everything. What you need? Like, yeah. Like, oh, you know, you want to do that move again? What the fuck was that? Like, okay, yeah. Like, keep going, buddy. You know what I mean? But I have to, like, I've learned to like set that boundary where I'm just like, this is my valuable time that I have to do this. And although I don't want my child to feel like I'm ignoring him, he needs to also understand what boundaries are. And I'm like, hey, buddy, I am doing something right now. And it's only going to take me this X amount of time. And right now you are distracting me. So when I'm done with this, then I will listen to you. but you cannot interrupt me and just expect me to stop doing what I'm doing just to be there for you. It does not work that way. And, you know, because that's not real life. And he gets like very upset, but he's starting to learn and understand that at the same time. So to answer your question and all that hubbub that I said, boundary setting for me is going to be a forever thing because truthfully, I want to help the world. And in order to do that, I have to sometimes forget about myself, but I still need to come first because I can't pour from an empty cup.
That's really... Has really well said, and I respect it a lot. There's a lot that I can take away from that personally. You know, I think Enneagram 2 sometimes struggle with the question: do I want to be liked or respected? And ultimately, boundaries help us create respect, right, for ourselves, respecting all that kind of stuff. I think, but I know that I personally sometimes get tossed up with that question. And there are times where I would rather be liked than respected, just because, I don't know, I want a quick win, right? As opposed to a long-term win. And sometimes, especially living in a new city and having a new role as a dad and all those kinds of things, it's fascinating to watch where we sometimes compromise ourselves, where we may not have before, or where we now see that we're doing it, that we didn't realize we were doing it before. So, but yeah, it's super, super interesting to think about this. And, you also kind of alluded to, who do you put first? And you said, I got to put me first, right? I can't pour from an empty cup. And a lot of times, from what I have read and heard, and also just, spoken to friends who are a little bit ahead of the journey in me in parenting, it's, yes, you matter, your marriage matters, and the kids also matter, right? But a lot of times that marriage piece is what gets thrown to the wind, and people don't, focus up or make time to still be in love and find reasons to fall in love again. And, I can even feel myself from some moments, Tina's like, well, she's my wife. And she was like, well, why don't we get my parents to watch the kids? And I'm like, well, I feel bad because then we're inconveniencing your parents. And then I don't know, we just figure it out. And she's like, no, we got to make time for us too. And I was like, you're right. I was like, and I told her, I was like, this will always be hard for me because they're not my parents. I don't want to inconvenience them. And I'm grateful for the help and support that they have provided us, will continue to provide. And I don't ever want to, I see that as potentially something that could run out. But that's a story I've written. Not one that they have written. They haven't said you get approximately 4.5 date nights a week, or a month, or a year, or whatever, James, right? You know what I mean? Like they didn't say that. That's a story I have written. And so there are moments where I've told Tina, I was like, I need you to hold me accountable for when I push back on you like that, to be like, they're fine. They love us. Let's go have a sexy meal, or whatever.
I miss sexy meals. Listen, let me tell you. Okay, that's so funny that you say that, Jim. So, okay, me and my husband. So, I want to say 2019 is where we started. Like the summer of 2019 is where we started trying to explore Texas. So our wedding anniversary is the 27th of July, and in 2019, I was like, I want to go away for our anniversary. I want to. This was our first wedding anniversary. We've been married almost 3 years now, together 6. And I was just like, I want to go do something. It's like our first anniversary. Like we have to do something big. Like it's really important, And he's just like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Like I don't want to inconvenience my mom with the kids. Like, what am I going to do about this, and the third, and all these things. And, I realized, so my friend was like, I will take the kids because we're only going for one night. We went to Austin. All right. So we went to Austin and it was like the best time. Like we got drunk on the streets. We went to a fancy dinner. Like we did all these things, stayed in this beautiful, fancy, this hotel was fancy. Okay. It was fancy. They were handing you drinks when you walked in. Fancy. Let me take your car and go park it. It was fancy. Okay. I was so excited. And, which was super awesome. We had a really good time. And then we were like, we need to make this a regular thing when we start doing date nights. So this is definitely before the panorama. And, and we had our babysitter as well. She just never stayed overnight, like our nanny. And she, every like other Friday, she would watch the kids and we would go out on dates. We would do something. We're getting so good at that because we started losing that from moving here and like just instant family growth and all that kind of thing. And it was really hard. And then like 2020, like right before like everything went to shit. Actually, it was like February. We planned to take like a weekend trip and go to San Antonio. Okay. So I was so very excited. Like I found this bomb hotel. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it, guys, but it's the St. Anthony's Hotel in San Antonio. I was so excited to stay there because Patrick Swayze was my favorite actor. He still is, honestly. And that was his hotel to be. And I got like a really good rate and we stayed the whole weekend. It was like so fun. And I literally, the week before, like that week, because we went on a Friday, that Monday before we left, I thought it would have been funny to take a pregnancy test that my friend left here. And I peed on it. And I said, no, that's not funny. This is not the joke I thought I was playing.
You took a pregnancy test because you thought it would be funny?
I literally fucking did. And I was like, wow, this would be funny. And I took it and I said, Akiki, hell, this is not the joke. And like, I cried. I called my friend who left the test and I said, how dare you leave this shit at my house? Like, I was so mad at her. And she was just like, oh my God, friend, I'm so sorry. I can't wait till you listen to this so she can hear it and be like, damn, that was me. And then I text my husband. I'm like, babe, Houston, we have a problem. And all he sent me was party hats because like I told you earlier, he wanted a lot of children. So he was just like, another baby. And I'm just like, no, I was about to listen. We was about to do something strange for no change in San Antonio. And then here you go knocking me up in January and it's February. It was crazy. And like, so now we're like in this point, like, then the whole pandemic hit and it was like we didn't do anything because where are we going, right? And now we're like in this stage where people are starting to realize like we can still do things but cautiously.
Yeah, sure.
But it's like now we have 4 kids and it's like who's gonna want to watch 4 kids? We don't want to like burden my mother-in-law and be like, because she like as soon as I would ask her, she would be like, yeah, I'll take them. Like, you know what I mean? And we just have to find ways. And I literally was just thinking today because we just opened a Top Golf here in Waco. And my husband loves golf. He hasn't played in years because he like has no time. He's so busy. And I was like, you know what? On the weekdays, we only have 2 kids because the other 2 are at school. So I was like, maybe I can ask my mother-in-law, hey, would you want to watch the kids in the morning for a couple of hours? And like, why me and Zach, that's my husband, while we go and do something, like go to Top Golf for a couple of hours because you have to like book it for like some time, And I'm like, that would be fun. But like, I do miss that. Like, and we have to get it out of our own heads. And I think that is what the Enneagram 2s too, is that we're just like, we don't want to inconvenience anybody by trying to take on the things that we're responsible for. Right. You know what I mean? And it's just like, but it takes a village to raise a baby. It does. You don't do it on your own. You don't do anything in life on your own, y'all. Like if you need people to help you, no matter what it is, you're not doing it by yourself. And, and it goes back to what we were talking about originally about like how we need to start putting ourselves first, right? It's like, should be like this tier kind of thing, right? And it's kind of like a triangle, honestly, when you really think about it, like or a circle that just keeps going. But however you want to, what analogy you want to put with it, but like it has to be you putting you first. Then it has to be you and your spouse putting you guys first. Next, right? And then your kids come after. But if you really think about that, it does sound bad when you hear it, but when you really think about it, it all goes in together. Because if you're not giving yourself anything, how can you pour into your husband? And if you and your husband are not into each other, how can you guys come together to raise your children healthily? Like, you know what I mean? If you're not pouring into your children, how can you feel good about yourself? And it's like a circle, right? Yeah. So it's like, but at the top, how the circle starts or the pyramid starts or whatever, the triangle, it has to be you. You have to be okay. And this is why it's important as parents, whether you're a mom or a dad, that you have to also set boundaries and create time for yourself, do things for you that creates love, and remember who you were outside of being a wife or a husband or a mom or a dad. Because at the end of the day, when all these people are gone, it's just you.
It's just you. Ain't that some sobering truth? Yeah, that is 100% true, and that was very well put. Yeah, I mean, I respect the wisdom for sure in your words, the lived wisdom at that, my friend. Because I know you're going through it. I still can't get over the fact that you're like, I'm going to take a pregnancy test as a joke, and
What
then
was I
I
thinking?
have no idea. I don't know. Literally, if you had waited a weekend, you could have drank and whatever,
Mhm,
right? I mean,
exactly.
you probably could have drank anyway. But anyway, let's not get into all that. But still,
Sip, sip.
that's that. Yeah, no, we gonna get these mommy bloggers coming for us.
For
So
real.
yeah. So you mentioned your husband Zach, and I hate to be the person who tells you this, but I don't know if you noticed, but your husband's white, and you're not, Tasheka. I don't
Whoa,
know. I know. I don't know if you. I know. It's clearly someone. Someone else. This
honey,
is.
did you hear this? You're white. What? What?
I know. It takes one to know one. So look, we got kids jumping around behind us. We got kids literally jumping on the bed right now. That's so funny. Uh, I love it.
My kids are like, yeah, no, we're gonna be a part of this. This is real. This is real life, y'all. This is real life. That these kids are really gonna just do this right now.
They're really both out here. They're both out here.
They're both, and they're thinking it's hilarious. But yeah, no, yeah, guys, like, yeah, I am in an interracial marriage with like lovely little biracial children out here in this world.
Mhm.
I'm gonna hold on. My husband's like, I got my one kid hid. Like, you guys, I can't make this up. This is real life. But yeah. So the crazy part is that I've always dated outside of my race, though.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to date. I've dated like another Black person once, and I was like, yeah, like it was not my preference, and it's okay to have preferences. I think people, like, especially in where we are as a country right now, that people seem to feel like I just ignored them. I
know you want. We can't. I can't have this serious conversation with you. So we can pause on this. If
they're good. They're good. They're gone now. My husband stole them away. He should have. I wonder if he locked the door. You know what? I'm gonna go lock the door. So give me a second. All right, I locked the door. I should have did that in the beginning, but I don't know why I didn't. Like, here we go again. Me feeling bad if I lock the door. What if something happens and I lock the door and like have headphones in? Terrible. But
can you do me a favor? Can you start with it's funny. I've never dated anyone. I've only outside. I frequently date outside my race.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've always, like, my whole life kind of dated outside of my race. Truthfully, I have dated one time. I've dated a Black guy before, and I realized it was like, I don't know, not that it was like bad or anything. It was just not my preference, which I think is really okay. I think especially where we are as a country right now, with so many things, with Black Lives Matter, with busting systemic. My brain, right? Systemic racism. I don't know why that came out like that.
Systemic racism. You got 4 kids. That's why.
Because I got 4 kids. But with systemic racism being where it is, and we're blowing it out of the water and, like, exposing it to its utmost, that people are like, it's a very touchy subject to say that you have a preference, or like I like white women, or I like Black men, or I like, you know what I mean? Because then people are gonna really hit that really hard and be like, oh, so what's wrong with Black men? What's wrong with Black women? What's wrong with what? And it's okay to have preference, and it's about how you word it and the way that you act and the actions that you take that sets the tone for your preference, I feel like. Sure. But like, my oldest son, his father is Filipino, actually. He's from the Philippines. And like, I went through like a whole stage where I dated a lot of Asian guys. The Asian men were like my thing. And then I dated a lot of white men, and like, I really sound like a hoe right now the way I'm saying that. I dated a lot.
You're not. You just dated.
I just dated. I was
just
like, that's the whole shit. I was dating. You know,
getting free
and
meals.
exactly. And you know, I mean, truthfully, my number one thing is like I like guys with beards, long hair, and green eyes. I was like obsessed with that.
Yeah.
I like it. I just was like, you know what I mean, and
you can't help where your eyes go.
You can't. And like, no. I've caught a lot of heat for this, y'all. I've caught a lot of heat for this quietly. I don't always expose it because I feel like it's unnecessary because people are going to just hate. And at the end of the day, my husband's still my husband. I'm still rocking this ring. Okay. Like I'm still married. Right. We still got this house that we're paying for. Like, you know what I mean? We got all these kids in this house. Like it's not going to change just because, you know, you guys feel uncomfortable with it. And if anything, I feel like interracial relationships is what's going to potentially heal this country. And people look at me crazy when I say that. And I'm like, they're like, really? Like, why do you think that? And I'm like, well, like, think about it. We went through a really long time where it's just like, you know, black is not beautiful. It's ugly. And like, you know, where it's beautiful is beautiful blonde hair and blue eyes or straight hair or fair skin. And like, you know what I mean? But I can tell you the way that my husband looks at me, I've never felt more beautiful in my life. Like, you know what I mean? You know, over here with like scars and stretch marks and, you know, definitely way bigger than what I was when we met. And like, it's like nothing changed for him. And that is like, I love that feeling. And then, I feel like when we start showing that no one cares and it's not the color that people are looking at, when they're looking at a person, that is definitely going to help heal this world. Like because not even just America, it's all over this world that there's all type of racism all over the place, right? You know what I mean? But we see it the most and a lot here. It's very concentrated because it's unfortunately, you know, people hate when I say this, but America was literally built off the backs of black people,
literally,
and
stolen from indigenous people.
Stolen from indigenous people, and it's 1,000% a third world country and Gucci clothing. So like. So it's so this is why I always say this, and like I teach my kids like very like, and I think also like having biracial children helps them see the world differently. And like I said, I never wanted to have children anyway, so I never looked to have biracial children. Like that was not even in the game for me. But I feel like when you think about it, that like, you know, like the Lovings, what they went through and how they fought to have interracial relationships be a thing, and it was deemed when it was illegal, and now it's illegal that I could marry my husband. That says something, and that builds something in this country, is because we see the problem and we're trying to fix it, and we're trying, like, you know what I mean? It may not be going the way that we all want it to go in the rate as fast as we want it to go, but there's change happening when we're immersing in other cultures and loving it for what it is, and not caring that it doesn't look like you or it's not what you would do. You know what I mean? So it's hard though, because I get a lot of you must deeply, rootlessly hate yourself to be with a white guy, or you have slave. I've heard it all, James. I have slave mentality.
Oh, no.
My husband must have a fetish for black women, and I'm like, actually, I'm the first black woman he dated, and we're married.
So he better not.
Yeah, wait, hold on. Like I said, because that sounds real weird. Then where'd that come from? Like, you know, and I'm like, no, it's like, I mean, I'm not at all. And it's just like, my husband's not like, he was never the type that had like a preference. It was like a circumstance of where he lived, like where he grew up in New York. There wasn't like a ton of black people, like black girls and stuff like that around, like, you know what I mean? But then like we met and we just like, it just happened, like, you know what I mean? And it's crazy. And, you know, and I've gotten a lot of, it's because you talk so white, that's why you blend in. And I'm like, no, I said, I'm sorry. Should I be more ghetto to seem more black for you? And like, the sad thing is that I don't catch a lot of heat from white people about me dating my husband being white. I get it from the black community heavily. I've gotten like, you can't speak on racial injustice if your husband's white.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm so sorry. I forgot that when I married him, my skin color changed and I'm no longer a black woman. And when I have to fill out applications, I have to check black or African American.
Oh gosh.
I'm like, that doesn't change. Like, you know what I mean? And it's really, it sucks though. Because it's just, and I always feel kind of sometimes out of place. And, you know, my Black friends that I've met here in the virtual world, and the Black influencers who are married, and it's like they're spouting Black love, and like, I can't say that, like, you know what I mean? And like, sometimes I feel out of place because I feel inadequate, like I did something wrong, but in truth, all I did was follow my heart. And that is what ultimately we should do. As long as you're not hurting or harming someone, and you're not doing it in a harmful way, always follow your heart. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, you know what I mean? And, I'm very thankful. I think a lot of it helped that like, you know, in the Bronx, it's very diverse. Like, there's Italian, there's, you know, my husband's Italian actually. So there's Italian, there's like, you know, Latinas, there's Black, there's, you know, Caribbean, there's all types of people like there, like, you know what I mean? That's what New York City is. It's like literally a hodgepodge of people. And, you know, and then moving upstate New York, there was like nothing but white people. And I was like a little shocked for that, because I'm just like, but there's no brown people, there's no Black people, it's just white, like white here. Wow, that's crazy. But like, you know, I feel like that also, my aunt always says that, she's like, I feel like if we never left New York City, that you would not have married a white guy. And I'm like, you don't know that. You don't know. I was like, honestly, since I was a little girl, I won't lie to you, I always said that I want to marry an Asian man. So
yeah.
You're right. I probably wouldn't have married a white man. He probably would have been Asian, because that's what I used to say all the time when I was a little girl, because I was always obsessed with like Jet Li and like Jackie Chan and karate movies. And like, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna marry an Asian guy, and I'm moved to Asia. I'm moved to China. That's where I'm going. Like, you know, but here I am, like, in a completely loving and happy relationship. And like, a lot of things come from that. And like, you know, a lot of people assume that we're just like super well off and have tons of money because my husband's white. And I'm like, no, I still got bills. My bills don't go away because my husband was white, honey. Like, you know what I mean? And like, it's just like, and then there's a lot of things that humbled me too, being in an interracial relationship, because I was never fully immersed in like white families. Like, of course I dated white guys, but I was never like a part of their family, because we were not married, you know what I mean? Even though like their mothers were always so kind to me. Like, I've never had a mother from someone I dated who didn't like me and that I still don't talk to. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, I talk to them, but I talk to their mom. but yeah, like, you know, it was a lot of things that I never realized, like that, you know, because growing up, I felt like, you know, because what you see on TV is what you know, right? So I always felt like white families had love and like no hardships and no things that they go through and no drama and all that. But that's not true. Families are families. Everybody's going to have their own drama and their own issues and their own things. Not saying that my husband's family does, but there's things that I've seen that I didn't think I would see, because I assumed that everything in like the white world was perfect, because that's what society paints in your head, instead of we just remembering that we're just people. We're just people who some of us have more melanated skin than others. There's no difference other than that. And so like, we raise our children to talk about social injustice and social issues. My oldest son the most. My daughter, I talk about, she's not like really tan. Like, she's definitely way lighter than me. You know, when you start mixing milk and chocolate, you're going to get light, you know what I mean? So she's quite like light brown. But I talk to her constantly about loving her brown skin. And I explain her, I mean, in some terms that she can understand, because, you know, I'm not ready to tell her how babies are made or where they come from. Like, she knows they come out of my belly, but she don't know how they got there. And I just tell her, I'm like, well, because daddy is, you know, daddy's white and mommy's Black. And when you mix us together, she goes, brown, me, you get me. I'm brown. Yeah. And like, she goes around, and I tell you, like, she loves the song Brown Skin Girl. She sings that song 24. She'd be like, brown skin girl. She goes, mommy, my skin's like pearls. And I'm like, yeah, girl, she goes, flexing in my complexion. Like, she is down to be brown. And I love it. And I think that's so important. And like, my husband and my mother-in-law definitely pushes like all like the beauty of that, like, you know what I mean, like,
Yeah.
and I think that's very important as well. And this is why I say like having interracial marriages, and like not even just black and white, but like Hispanic, like I hate saying Hispanic, I always have to correct myself, but Latina and black, or Latina and white, or Asian and white, Asian and black, like all those, when you start mixing all these cultures and races together, we start realizing that we're more alike and more uniformed and one than we thought. And I think that is something that's beautiful, and that is how we're going to heal this world. Because once we stop realizing that there's differences and start realizing there's more similarities, is when we realize that we're just people, and we all gonna die anyway. So shit.
Here we go. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 doctors agree.
10 out of 10
We're all
doctors
gonna die.
agree. You're not living forever, all right? Like, you're not out here. You do not have immortality. Like, we're all dying. We're all either getting burned or put in a box in the ground. Like, it is what it is, and we just have to like love each other. And it starts at home. And I'm just trying to teach my kids how to love, to be careful, of course, because my son is quite tan, even though he's biracial as well.
Sure. And
I have to teach him how to be careful. And my husband thinks about that. He talks about that. And we don't, things are like that is not off the table. They're not uncomfortable. There are conversations that need to be had. There's things that I have taught my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and they have taught me. And I love that. And I think that's where it comes to be important.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
By the way, I love the fact, you guys can't see this, so I'm going to shout it out for James, that in the back of his thing, because as he said, he talks about social injustice. I don't know if you guys like, because some people say that and you're just like, do they really? Do we know? But he's out here with the Black Lives Matter poster in the back of his, behind him, like ready. Like, you know what I mean? And like, you could just hear it. Like, it's just something about growing up in New York City, though, that just like, I feel like you have no choice not to be.
Yeah, and I grew up on Long Island, in a very white town, right? If I grew up in the city, maybe I would have had. I guess it depends what schools you go to, right? Because money can buy you whatever sort of exclusivity or whatever community you technically want, and potentially, right? If my white parents, if they were super affluent and wanted me to go to an all white blah 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 school, I could have in the city. But growing up in my town on Long Island, if you saw 5-6 black people walking together, you thought it was a movement, right? Because that just wasn't the makeup of my town, right? It was an incredibly white town, and you can't help where you grew up, but at some point in time, you either make the decision to recognize that there is a lot more out there than based on your sheltered upbringing, or you stay because ignorance is bliss. And I made a choice, and we keep fighting because of it. So
and I love that. So I want to just say thank you real quick for that, because and I know like people feel like we shouldn't have to say thank you for that, but I'd say thank you because this whole country was built off of racism. And so to see people step out of that box and realize like the injustice and and who wants to fight that and try to create change. This is how also change happens, is by people realizing that change needs to happen, and they need to join a movement to, and I love that. And I take that super seriously. And I don't talk about it a ton on my social channels because of all the backlash that I constantly get about, oh, your husband's white. And like, it just drives me nuts. And I was just like, no, like when I need to talk about it, I will, but I really heavily talk about it with my children, especially my oldest son. And, he saw in firsthand the anxiety I had during the trial for George Floyd. And when that murderer, because let's call it what it is, was convicted and found guilty, I cried. And my son was like, I was so scared that he would get away with that because it seems to be a pattern. He's 11.
Yep.
And like, and I try not to create bias in my children because like they have to find their own way, but I create the truth. I tell them the truth, and like not my opinion of the truth. I tell them I give them facts all the time. Yes. When they ask me. And now that he's getting older, he can all formulate his own opinion and ask me questions. And he was just like, I was really scared to talk to him about the situation with George Floyd in the beginning, but he found out on his own because he's 11, and he was 10 at the time. And I was just like, yeah, that happened, buddy. And, and he was just like, well, what can we do to create change? And like, we got to start giving our kids
Yes.
voices too. And that's important because they are our future, y'all. They
Mhm.
are how we are going to get better as a country. They are how we're going to get better as people, is by allowing our children to voice themselves and to teach and to educate instead of hiding it, because that's what was done to us. And this is why we're still trying to figure it out, because it keeps getting hidden instead of just letting it out and being real and having honest talks like that.
That's facts right there. That's facts. And thank you for sharing us about the tough conversations that you have, the important conversations that you have with your children and the teaching that you're doing. Right. I mean, as you know, I'm a white man married to a white woman, and we have a white child. Kind of how it works. And like,
no, he came out brown, Jane.
Right.
No.
Yeah, this motherfucker's a redhead. He's white. He's whiter than white. But still, he
I'm cracking up.
he is. But we don't have to have conversations like you have to have conversations, right? For the health and safety, livelihood, and of your child. We will have conversations about why we don't have to have those conversations, right? Because there's got to be those we just got to talk. And I will not raise a child who is naive to his appearance and what it means. And so, but you do so much teaching in your home. Tasheka, where I want to end is you also do a lot of teaching in your social media presence and on your blogs and stuff like that, right? You Life with Tasheka. Tell me and tell the listeners, what are some things that you love to talk about? That if I follow Life with Tasheka on Instagram or if the blog, if I sign up for the newsletters, whatnot, what kind of stuff are you throwing out to the people?
Shit, a lot. No, no. Honestly, it's been a journey the last 2 years. I started this almost 3 years ago, honestly, because my son was just, I think he was like 10 months old when I started this journey of influencing content creating, like the end of 2018. So like almost 3 years, like, right. And, I started off as I just started off as Shika because that was my Instagram name. And I transitioned my Instagram, my personal page, into this. So this is how it started. And then I changed it to Bear Mama Shika because I felt like I should be more bare with motherhood. I should be honest and open with it. And then just recently, I want to say the end of last year, after I had my fourth and final baby, I hope you're hearing this, husband. This is it. We're done. And when I had her, I was like, I am more than just a mom. I'm a lot of things. I don't want to just talk about my children. Because you kind of can get really caught up and lost in the influencing world. So I changed it to Life with Tasheka. This is what it is. This is what it would stay. It will not change from this. And I talk about how motherhood has shaped me as a woman, and how it's affected me as a woman. How, how mom communities are important. I talk a lot about that. I talk about mental wellness a lot too. I really talk about a lot of mental wellness. Actually, the posts that I recently posted, by the time you guys hear this, it would be, it would be like, I posted that a while ago, but, so we're going to say back in May, I had posted this post with me talking about my anxiety and how my anxiety manifested me coping by picking scabs and scars, and creating them. I didn't realize I did this, and I've been doing it my whole life until I think I was like 23-ish is where I started realizing, and I had to stop trying to stop myself from doing it. Sometimes I do it subconsciously. And I made that really vulnerable post talking about it. I've made many vulnerable posts, and I have some good stuff, but the problem is that in social media, like we've said before, is that there are these cookie cutter highlighted reels of people's lives, and we're not talking about the real, the nitty and gritty, because the good cookie cutter things happen. It's life. We always get good bits, but there's also messy bits. And it's really important to talk about those, because then that is how people feel heard and seen, is by you talking about something that they're going through instead of them feeling inadequate because their life is not quote unquote social media perfection. And so I talk a lot about just taking life for what it is, that sometimes it's hard. And I like, my feed is not always planned out. It's not curated. It is so random. It is literally how I feel. Like I took those pictures that of me with, how I felt about my anxiety and my scars. I took those pictures the day before I posted them. And people are, and I'm like, I don't plan it. Sometimes it depends how I feel. Sometimes you will see, and I think that is what's important. You will see my feed does not match a scheme. The scheme that my feed matches is my mental wellness at the time. So sometimes you'll see very like joyful, happy, joy, life is great, everything things. And then sometimes you'll hit you'll get some things that's like, man, I'm struggling. Mom life has been really hard. My marriage has been really hard. Because I think that it's important to show that, because yes, we're going to have some really high points and we're going to have some low points. But at the end of the day, we're going to, hopefully we wake up every day and keep it pushing. And I just want to build a community of realness where people don't feel that they're not anything. I don't want anyone to ever feel the way I've ever felt in life. So I tend to try to post things that make people feel seen and heard. So yeah, that's me. That's what I post.
Tasheka, you are most certainly coming with the realness online. You came with the realness today while we kicked it in the diner. And you are a gift, my friend. Thank you. Thank you so much for wanting to spend time with me in the diner. Thanks so much for telling some of your story. I know there was so much more that we could have gotten into, but I'm grateful for what you did share with us today.
I loved it. Thank you so much, James. This was an absolute pleasure. I look forward to maybe coming back another time and chopping it up with you. Now you got me like inspired to relaunch my own podcast.
Let's go.
And and have you on there be like, James is here.
Hey.
So it definitely, I love this, and I really did. And I wanted to say thank you so much. And for any mom, I'm gonna leave with this. For any mother who is out there right now listening to this, even dads, right? And you feel lost in life and you feel like parenting and parenthood is swallowing you whole, you're not alone. The people that you see on the internet, and then your friends that you see next door, or your neighbor, or your mom, or your dad, cousin, uncle, sister, it doesn't matter. All these people who just seem to have it all together don't. They just cry in their bathroom quietly, and you're just not afraid to cry out loud. So do it. Do it, because it's hard, and find your tribe and talk to them and tell them how hard it is, so then they feel comfortable, so we can start setting a tone that it needs to be vocalized, that parenting is hard as fuck, and that those books that they gave us to tell us what parenting was going to be like is bullshit, because it's not. Okay, we out here all just trying to survive these damn kids, because what the hell is this?
Amen.
So I hope you guys all have a great time with us. Again, I appreciate you guys listening to my little journey. I will see you guys on the flip side. Thanks so much, James.
Thank you, Tasheka. Y'all, that was Tasheka Grant. She is an incredible force. The way that she speaks about motherhood, parenting, marriage, life is really captivating. You can tell that you were talking to a real, authentic human being. And that's just something that, real recognize real. And there's power, such beauty and authenticity. And so I'm grateful that Tasheka graced the diner today with her wisdom and her jokes and her spirit. And y'all, I'm glad that I got to hang out with you. Thank you so much for coming out and kicking it with me here in the diner. And until next time, my friends, keep punching small talk in the face by asking better questions.